Hi, this is Ken here. In this clip, I'm going to talk about a few things you need to watch out, right? If you want to migrate to Australia, right? If you're one of the Malaysians or Singaporeans who are thinking about migrating to Australia, I actually have a list I want to go through with you here. I have, 6 things that you should watch out for, right? When you want to migrate to Australia, right? Number 1 is, now most of us who wants to migrate, right, would like to perhaps consult an agent, right? So when you talk to an agent, right, checking out your possibility or your success rate of getting a permanent resident visa in Australia, a PR, right, you want to make sure that they are registered, right? You want to make sure that these migration agents have sat for the exam and passed, right? There's a government exam, Australian government exam, right? So they are qualified as a migration agent to give, migration, related advice or consultation services, right? You can go to this website, MARA, Migration Agent Registration Authority. So you just go to Google, you type MARA, right, and you will find the website. And once you got the website, right, go in there and type in the registration number of your agent, or the surname or the full name of your migration agent, right? And you will see, right, those information come up, right, saying whether this person is registered with the authority. And sometimes you might come across certain agents whose name appear up there, and then the description was that this person has been deregistered, right? So meaning he probably failed to comply with certain requirements and therefore had the name deregistered, right? So you will have a record of this agent, right? So normally they will tell you that they are qualified, because they want to gain your trust. They want to gain your trust, so they say that they are registered by MARA, and that you can go to the website and check whether the name is there or not, right? So do it anyway, just to double check, just to be sure, just to be double sure. But if you go to a certain suspicious one, they probably won't talk to you about MARA. Then definitely you want to go back and check, see whether the name is there or not. And normally these agents, they will not charge you, right, for the first consultation, because they will want to do a point assessment with you and tell you whether you have a high chance or a reasonable chance of success or not. If not, right, there's no point for them to take up your case. So usually the first meeting is for free, okay? And then the payment is usually done in stages, right? Maybe in 2 stages. You pay first half of the money, they start applying, and once the application is successful, you pay the rest. And some agents will also tell you that there's no guarantee. They will lodge in anyway, right? And then they're gonna make you pay in 2 stages, right, before or regardless whether the outcome is positive or negative, right? So that's point number 1. Point number 1 is you got to check your agent's background. Go to MARA, MARA, Migration Agent Registration Authority, .gov.au, I think, right? It's a government website, MARA. Just go to Google, you type in MARA Australia, you should get the full website address. I'll write out the full address below this clip as well afterward. Now the second thing that you need to watch out for is, regardless whether you want to engage an agent or you want to apply directly to the Australian Immigration Department for a permanent resident visa, right, regardless, right, you should always, right, go to this website, immi.gov.au, right? Because this is the website that tells you all the information about Australian immigration law, the changes, the immigration program, and all those things. Especially go to the section on news, right? So they will tell you the latest development, like next year, how many people or how many places they will give out, for migrants coming in. All right, so it's good to know. And of course, if you go to this website, you will have a big picture, like what I mentioned just now, about the Australian permanent immigration program, right, where they take in, right, migrants, and they take in people who are on humanitarian, coming to Australia on humanitarian grounds, like refugees, asylum seekers, and all that. Obviously, you fall under the first category, right, which is the migration component of the program, not the humanitarian one. These are for refugees and asylum seekers. Now, so it's very important for you to have a big picture, right? Even if you want to engage an agent to do this for you, right? Then the agent can tell you things, and you'll be on the same page, right? It'll be easier for you to understand. And when agent knows that you understand the big overall structure, right, it's easier for them to explain to you. And also, they tend not to be too, they won't charge you too much, perhaps, because they know that you also know the information. After all, they know that all this information they've been telling you, is easily accessible on the internet. So therefore, they can't try to paint you a picture that is very hard for them to get all this exclusive information. Therefore, you need to pay a high price. Sometimes you have unscrupulous agents. Not all agents are like that, but sometimes, so it's good that you know all these things, right? Even though if you want to engage an agent. So that's point number 2. Point number 2 is, don't forget to always go to this website, right? I think you can start going to this website right now, after this clip, immi.gov.au. And if you go there every day, right, long enough, like after a few weeks, you probably know even more than me. I also get all this information from there, right? Nobody has the monopoly of all this information today, right? Especially go to this section called news, right, where they have the latest development, latest changes, like certain profession they want to reduce the number of people coming in because there are too many oversupply of these skills, and all that. They will tell you. Now, the point number 3, right? The third thing that you need to watch out for is for those Malaysians or those migrants, right? Malaysian or Singaporean migrants or anybody, right, who wants to come to Australia and want to buy a business. Right? If your plan is to come down here to Australia, settle down and buy a business to make a living, it's very important that you understand that there are a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of small business owners right here in Australia. Their main revenues or their main profits, their main income, right, comes from selling their businesses. Because in Australia here, there's a regulation. Every business, when you want to sell, right, every business, when you want to sell it to a new owner, you need to keep the last 3 years, accounts, right, all the bookkeeping records, so that you can make your own assessment as to how much the business is really worth, right? The asking price, you can decide whether it's justifiable or not, right? So they have this regulation. I think it's very good, so that everybody think that it's, at least it looks very transparent, you see. But I was told by a local accountant here in Australia, they say that this is a big industry, right? These people might be running cafes, grocery shop, laundromats, restaurants, and they look like genuine restaurant operators, or they look like genuine cafe owners, but their business do not really come from their retail side, right? It really comes when they start selling the business. So we've been living here for 10 years, so we know, like, for example, there's a woman, right? She runs a grocery store in one suburb, and after 5 years, they sold off the business. And not long after that, right, we saw this woman in another suburb, right? Starting a new grocery store, right? Asian grocery store. And after 2 years, right, this business is on sale again, you see. So I'm not saying there's anything wrong, anything right or anything wrong with this kind of behavior. It's willing buyer, willing seller, and all those things. But I mean, if you're unlucky, you might meet some people who mainly do this and are very good at cosmetic accounting, make everything look so promising. And when you buy the business, you realize that actually the costs are much higher. Actually, the labor cost is much higher. Actually, the businesses, the everyday business coming in is not that much either, right? So how can you safeguard yourself? Then you have to do some homework. As you would have taught already, the best way is to observe the shop, right, from a comfortable distance, sit in a car for a few days or even weeks before you really commit buying the business, because sometimes they can just make up the figures, or they can do a lot of touch-up cosmetic accounting, is what they call, right? So that's the third point, right? When you buy a business, be careful, right? The books will not reveal a lot of things. Number four is when you want to buy properties, right? Over here, right, there are also property developers that prey mainly on new migrants, right? I have put up a clip recently, right, about a month ago, about one student. He actually went to a seminar. This seminar was supposed to be like educational seminar about the property market in Australia, right? But actually this is a sales seminar, and they are aiming at all these attendees, right? But they market it in such a way, that seminar, that event, like they rent out a nice place in a hotel or in some university lecture theater, and they tell you some historical context of the property market in Australia, the trends, some forecasts and all that. Basically, the whole idea is to sell you, the idea that the property market here is very promising, right? It's on bull run for the last 22 years, and it will go higher according to this seminar. And the main catch is that they are and then they say that if you join the company, you'll be rich like this founder, because this founder started off with one investment property, and the rest become history, and now he's a big time developer. And he said if you join him, right, he will train you, and you will have big prospect, you have bright future working for him. As long as you get involved in this property market in Australia, right, you will ride out the boom, right? You will go out together with the rising tide, with the rising wave, right? And when they recruit these people, they don't really pay them retainers or basic salary. And most importantly, they teach you something about investment, but the most important goal for themselves is actually to sell you the properties that they develop themselves. And then they will tell you that you hold this for a few months, and then you start selling, you make $100,000, right? That's what the student told me as well, right? And instead of recruiting all these people and teach them how to teach them about property market, teach them how to sell and how to market the property, they're actually trying to sell their own team members the property. And then when the team members bought the property, now they have trouble selling it, because they bought it off the plan. They didn't know how badly it was done, and then once they got the keys, they realized that the property, the material is terrible, the space is really small, the location isn't that good near the station or near the campus usually, right? So that's why they sell it to a lot of these foreigners, foreign parents, international students, their parents and all that, because it's near the university campuses. And they realize that everything is not as good as on paper. And then when they want to sell it, they can't sell it to a lot of locals, and the market is very, very limited. And they realize also the market price, right, is usually much lower than the price for this kind of properties. And this kind of properties usually look really high tech on the outside, right? Architectural designs that are impressive and all that, but they use that to actually cover up a lot of problem with space, a lot of material deficiency and all those things. All right, so don't buy those properties, because there are a lot of developers who are also preying a lot on new migrants, right, or the Chinese speaking markets, because a lot of migrants who cannot speak English, right, they the way they shop is very limited as well. They can't be talking to Australian agents, so they talk to these Chinese speaking agents. But these Chinese speaking agents mainly work for these kind of developers who are really preying on the Chinese speaking market, right? So beware of that also, right? That's point number 4, right? Buy property. This is what you want to watch out for, right? Go and buy properties that locals like to buy. Go and buy properties that are not just near the train station and university campuses, because these are mainly for the outsiders, and the foreigners they're all cash rich, especially the Chinese. So why they sell the local price? Obviously they charge you at a premium, right? Now point number 5. Alright, sorry. Point number 5. For those Malaysians or Singaporeans or anybody, right, migrants coming from anywhere, who wants to first come in as a student on a student visa, and then hopefully with this student visa you get some job and you get a sponsorship and make plans, make inroads into applying for permanent residence. Right? A lot of students do that, right? So if you come in on a student visa as a teacher in a college here in Australia, I've seen a lot of cases. It's a very, very tough pathway, because number 1, the fee is really high, and number 2, there are not many jobs around here, right? Those jobs that are available are really the jobs that are very like odd jobs, right? They don't actually utilize your professional skills at all, right? Working in restaurants, working in the cleaning companies, right? You could be a lawyer or architect in your own country, but right here, right, you need the qualification, and if you don't have local experience and local qualification, it's very hard to get those kind of jobs. So then you end up working in a restaurant, right, or delivery guy, in a courier company, right, as a cleaner. So usually, right, you don't make a lot of money, and you make just enough to pay for the college fees, which put you in a catch-22 position, because all the money that you earn, you pay the fees, and then you got to work again, and sometimes you work too many hours, you don't do well in your you can't pass your exam, and then you got to pay your fees. I have students been going through this cycle for years, 5-6 years, right? Students becoming security guards at night, studying in the daytime, and still for 5 years they get nowhere, and they become 5 years older. In this industry, right, or if you go according to this pathway, you will you tend to get a lot of advice from student agents, because student agents will tell you which course is good for you, which course can help you extend the student visa so you can stay here a little bit longer, and hopefully you can convert your student visa into a temporary resident visa, from then on become a permanent resident visa and things like that. So these are education agents, right? Come migration agents sometimes, right? And they get the commission from schools, and sometimes they will tell you that you can enroll in this school, and this school will not require you to come to classes, right? You just pay the fees and you got the student visa and you can start working. All you need to do is just turn up and you get your name, take, and then you can go back to work. The agents will tell you all these things just to get you enrolled in the school, because the school will then pay them the commission, and then the student will realize that they come to this school or this college, attendance is indeed compulsory, and they have to attend at least 80% of all the classes, or in some cases 85 or 90%, right? But they thought these are the schools that only want to get money and not really serious in education, right? But a lot of schools today, they are also trying to shape up, because the governments have strict regulations like quality control and all the nonsense. So some students, they come here not for study, they just come here for student visa, and they realize that after paying all the money, right, they still have to come to all the colleges and classes and all that. That left them very little time. That leaves them very little time to actually work, right? So they get into trouble as well. Now, the sixth thing that you need to watch out for is the businesses that you want to start here, right? The businesses that you want to start here really has to be something that you're very comfortable with. Say, for example, you are a cook in Malaysia, then you come here, you want to start a restaurant. Yeah, I think it's possible, right? Even though the cost is very expensive, but at least it is something that is you are very familiar with, right? So the sixth point is actually a very personal and subjective point that I want to share. I'm not a restaurant guy, I'm not a cook, I'm not a good cook, right? I was not in the restaurant business, so I try to distance myself from this business because it's very, very risky for me, right, as an outsider to go into this business. But there's another reason why I try to avoid the restaurant business, is because it's just too damn expensive, right? I'll give you one example. In one of the suburbs here called Waverley, there's a stretch of road called Kingsway where they have lots of restaurants, right? Nightlife there is very busy. It's a street for food, all the different types of restaurants are there. And we know a friend of a friend who invested in a restaurant, and they told this friend that the council actually need them to pay a fee for the parking, which is very, very expensive. They say that they charge the fee according to how big your restaurant is. Say, for example, your restaurant has a seat capacity of 80 chairs. So with 80 chairs, right, they will calculate how many parking space your patrons will take up on that street, on the Kingsway stretch of road, the parking lots, the public parking lots. So then they will calculate a fee and charge you that fee. And we were told that that person has to pay about 300,000 Australian dollars just for what they call the parking levy, or some terms I forgot, I might get it wrong, but anyway, it's just another excuse for the council to charge us the money. The cost is so expensive. So actually this last point here is a very personal, subjective view, alright, but I'm gonna say it anyway. After living 10 years here, I realized that one very good business that we can do, alright, I'm a teacher. I've been teaching for ever since I come here in the college level, right? But if I am familiar with the secondary school system, or if I'm a secondary school teacher, there's one very lucrative business opportunity, not unlike Malaysia and Singapore, which is the private tuition business, right? It's a very big industry, right? I mean, we all know ASEAN is growing, booming. So with people having more and more income, there's going to be